Jack Morgan, a widowed carpenter raising his daughter alone in the Colorado mountains, finds solace in simplicity after abandoning his promising career as an architect. During a violent storm, his cabin becomes refuge for a mysterious injured woman who conceals her identity as a billionaire CEO fleeing her high-powered life. Their worlds violently collide, forcing them to discover if true shelter exists in wealth and status or in the raw authenticity that emerges when life's facades are washed away. Before we begin, write in the comments where you're listening to our stories from. Subscribe to our channel, it's free and you can always change your mind. Enjoy the story. Chapter 1. The Call. The howling wind rattled the windows of Jack Morgan's weathered cabin as he sat beside his daughter's bed, gently stroking her fever-warm forehead. Emma had finally fallen asleep after hours of restless coughing, her small frame looking even tinier beneath the pile of quilts. Outside, the Colorado mountain storm unleashed its fury, pelting the roof with what sounded like handfuls of gravel. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. "Hello?" he answered softly, moving toward the door to avoid waking Emma. "I'm sorry to call so late," came a woman's voice, trembling with what might have been cold or fear. "My car broke down on Mountain Pass Road. I've been stranded for hours, and now a tree has fallen right next to me. I don't know what to do. The road's flooded and no one else is answering." Jack glanced back at his sleeping daughter, torn between the stranger's desperation and his responsibility as a father. "I can't leave my little girl alone," he said finally. "She's sick and I'm all she has." There was a pause, then what sounded like a stifled sob. "I understand," the woman whispered. "I shouldn't have." A tremendous crash echoed through the phone, followed by a terrified scream that cut off abruptly. Then silence. "Hello? Hello?" Jack's heart raced. "Are you there?" No response. Just the faint sound of rain and wind. He ended the call, but the woman's scream echoed in his mind. 8 years as a mountain rescue volunteer before Emma was born had taught him what desperation sounded like. That was real fear, not an act. He paced the small living room, the wooden floorboards creaking beneath his boots. The guilt weighed on him like stone. He told himself he'd made the right call. Emma needed him. The mountain roads were treacherous in this weather, practically suicide to navigate. He didn't even know this woman, but her voice, the raw panic in it. He couldn't shake it. Jack checked on Emma again. Her breathing was steady now, her fever down a little. The medicine was working. He touched her soft cheek, remembering the promise he'd made when Diane died, that he would always protect their daughter, that she would never wake up without him nearby. Yet someone else needed help right now, someone who might not survive the night. "Damn it," he muttered, grabbing his coat and keys. Within minutes, he had bundled Emma up in blankets and carried her through the pelting rain to Mrs. Callahan's house next door. The elderly woman, a retired nurse, answered the door in her nightgown. "Jack? What on earth?" "I need to help someone stranded on Mountain Pass," he explained, already transferring his sleeping daughter into her arms. "It's an emergency. Can you watch Emma? Her fever's down, but she needs another dose of medicine at 11 if I'm not back." Mrs. Callahan nodded without hesitation. "Of course. Be careful out there. It's the worst storm we've had all year." Jack kissed Emma's forehead. "Tell her I'll be right back if she wakes up." His truck struggled against the wind as he navigated the flooded roads leading out of Cedar Ridge. The wipers worked furiously against the deluge, barely keeping the windshield clear enough to see. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the churning landscape in stark flashes. He tried calling the number back several times. No answer. Mountain Pass Road wound dangerously along the edge of Miller's Canyon, sections of it notorious for flooding and mudslides during storms. As he rounded a sharp curve, his headlights caught something. A luxury SUV tilted precariously at the edge of the road where part of the shoulder had washed away. A massive pine tree had fallen just behind it, blocking the road completely. Jack pulled over and grabbed his flashlight and emergency kit. The rain stung his face as he approached the vehicle. Empty. "Hello!" he called out, his voice nearly swallowed by the howling wind. "Is anyone here?" No response. He scanned the area with his flashlight. There, about 20 yards down the slope, a flash of color against the dark earth. He carefully made his way down, sliding on the mud. A woman lay half-conscious on the ground, partially sheltered by an outcropping of rock. Her elegant coat was soaked through, her dark hair plastered to her pale face. A nasty gash on her forehead was bleeding freely. "Hey," Jack said gently, kneeling beside her. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, disoriented but startlingly blue. "You," she whispered. "You came. I'm Jack. I need to get you out of here. The whole hillside could go any minute." She tried to move, then winced. "My ankle," Jack quickly assessed her. The head wound was concerning, but the rapidly swelling ankle might make walking impossible. "I'm going to carry you up to my truck. Hold on to me, okay?" She nodded weakly, and he lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, but the climb back up was treacherous. Twice they nearly went down as mud gave way beneath his boots. Finally, he got her into the passenger seat of his truck just as another section of the road edge crumbled away, taking a chunk of guardrail with it. "You called the right person," he said, starting the engine. "I used to do mountain rescue." She was shivering violently now, shock setting in. "I called everyone. You were the only one who answered. Then you said no, and I thought I was going to die out here." Jack turned the heater to full blast. "I changed my mind." "Why?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the storm. He glanced at her, this stranger he'd risked everything to save. "Because you sounded scared." "And alone." She didn't respond, just stared ahead as he carefully navigated back toward town. "What's your name?" he asked after a moment. "Olivia," she said, then hesitated. "Olivia Reed." Jack nodded, focusing on the flooded road. "Well, Olivia Reed, let's get you somewhere safe." As they drove through the storm, neither spoke of the way her hands trembled or how his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Neither mentioned that they both knew he shouldn't have come, that he had a sick child at home, that the roads were deadly, that they were strangers to each other. But in that moment, as lightning illuminated the rain-swept mountains around them, something unspoken passed between them. A recognition, perhaps. Two people adrift in their own storms, finding unexpected shelter in each other. What Jack couldn't know as they wound their way back to Cedar Ridge was that this rescue would change both their lives forever. That this wasn't just any stranded traveler he'd saved from the mountain. And Olivia Reed had a secret that would turn his quiet mountain life upside down. Chapter 2. Shelter. Jack's cabin glowed like a lighthouse in the darkness as he guided Olivia up the porch steps. The storm had intensified, sheets of rain slashing sideways and thunder shaking the ground beneath their feet. Inside, the warmth enveloped them immediately, the wood stove in the corner crackling with embers he'd banked before leaving. "Sit here," he said, helping her to the worn leather couch. "Let me look at that cut." Olivia sank down, her body still trembling despite the warmth. The light revealed her more clearly now. Elegant features, expensive clothes now ruined with mud and rain, and a composure that seemed to be barely holding together. Jack retrieved his first aid kit and knelt in front of her. "This might sting," he warned, gently cleaning the gash on her forehead. She flinched but didn't pull away. "Are you a doctor as well as a mountain rescuer?" she asked, her voice steadier now. He shook his head, carefully applying antiseptic. "Just a carpenter with a knack for fixing things." He paused. "Mountains teach you to be prepared. Wasn't always a handyman, though. Used to design buildings, not just build them." "What happened?" The question slipped out before she could stop herself. Jack's hands stilled momentarily. "Life happened," he resumed, cleaning her wound. "Now for that ankle. I need to take your boot off." She nodded, biting her lip as he carefully removed her expensive hiking boot, clearly new and barely broken in. Her ankle was already swollen to twice its normal size. "Sprain, not a break, I think," he assessed, gently probing the area. "But you'll need to stay off it for a few days." Olivia's face paled. "A few days? I can't. I need to get back on the road as soon as possible. In this storm? With this ankle? Not happening." Jack stood up to retrieve some ice. Roads might be washed out completely by morning anyway. She watched him move efficiently around the small kitchen, noting the modest furnishings, the hand-built cabinets, the children's drawings magneted to the refrigerator. "Your daughter," she said quietly. "You mentioned she was sick." "Emma," he nodded, wrapping the ice in a towel. "She's 6. She's got a fever, nothing serious, just a cold. My neighbor's watching her." He returned and placed the makeshift ice pack on her ankle. "I should call to check on her." As Jack stepped away to make the call, Olivia took in her surroundings more carefully. The cabin was small but meticulously maintained. Handcrafted furniture, well-worn books on built-in shelves, faded photographs. A home built with care, not money. So different from the sterile penthouses and hotel suites she was accustomed to. "She's still sleeping," Jack reported, returning. "Fever's down a bit more." "You're a good father," Olivia said softly. Something in her tone made him look at her more closely. You sound surprised. She shook her head. No, She stopped, unsure how to explain. My father was different. Jack didn't press. Instead, he disappeared briefly into another room, returning with a stack of clothes. These should fit well enough. They're my sister's. She stays here sometimes. You need to get out of those wet clothes before you catch pneumonia. Olivia accepted the clothes gratefully. Jack helped her hobble to the bathroom, where she peeled off her sodden designer outfit and slipped into the borrowed sweatpants and flannel shirt. When she emerged, he had stoked the fire and was heating something on the stove. Tomato soup, he explained. Nothing fancy, but it'll warm you up. She lowered herself carefully onto a kitchen chair. Thank you for everything. He shrugged, stirring the soup. Anyone would have done the same. No, she said firmly. They wouldn't. You said no yourself at first, and you had every reason to. But you came anyway. Jack was quiet for a moment. I couldn't get your voice out of my head. The fear in it. He poured the soup into mismatched bowls. What were you doing out there anyway? Mountain Pass isn't exactly on the way to anywhere popular. Olivia cupped her hands around the warm bowl, her eyes fixed on the swirling soup. Running away, she admitted softly. He raised an eyebrow but didn't immediately respond. The admission hung in the air between them. From what? He finally asked. Everything. She took a spoonful of soup, buying time. My life, my name, expectations. Jack studied her across the table. Your name carries expectations? She looked up then, something shifting in her expression. You don't recognize me, do you? He frowned slightly. Should I? A small, genuine smile touched her lips for the first time. No. And that's refreshing. The lights flickered ominously, then stabilized. Jack glanced at the window where rain continued to lash against the glass. Power might go soon. The generators will kick in, but we should be prepared. As if on cue, the cabin plunged into darkness, leaving only the orange glow from the wood stove. Jack moved calmly, lighting candles strategically around the room. Generator should start automatically, he explained. Give it a minute. In the soft candlelight, Olivia's features seemed softer, less guarded. You're very calm in a crisis. Had my share of them, he replied, checking the battery-powered radio for weather updates. The news wasn't good. Flash flood warnings, roads closed, power outages across 3 counties. He caught her watching him. What? Nothing, she said. It's just, you seem so self-sufficient. Like you've built this little world that doesn't need anything from outside. Jack's expression turned serious. Everyone needs something from outside, Olivia. No man is an island, especially not in mountains like these. The generator hummed to life and dim emergency lights flickered on. Relief softened Olivia's features, but the brief comfort was shattered by Jack's phone ringing. Mrs. Callahan? His voice was instantly alert. Is Emma? He listened, his face darkening. How high is the fever now? Another pause. I'm coming right away. He hung up, already reaching for his coat. Emma's fever spiked to 103. I need to get her to the clinic in town. Go, Olivia urged immediately. I'll be fine here. Jack hesitated, clearly torn. The roads are getting worse. If they wash out completely, your daughter needs you, she insisted. Please. He nodded, grabbing his keys. There's food in the fridge, more firewood by the stove. Keep that ankle elevated. I'll be back as soon as I can. Jack, she called as he reached the door. Thank you for saving me. He paused, silhouetted against the stormy night. We're not safe yet, he replied, and then he was gone, swallowed by the darkness and the rain. Olivia sat alone in the dimly lit cabin, listening to the storm rage outside and the old house creak around her. For the first time in months, she felt something close to peace despite the chaos. No cameras, no assistants, no board meetings, no expectations. No one knowing she was Olivia Reed Harrington, billionaire CEO of Reed Technologies, who had disappeared 3 days ago without a trace, sending the business world into a frenzy of speculation. She touched the simple cotton of the borrowed flannel shirt, so different from her usual tailored suits. Tonight, in this storm, in this stranger's home, she was just Olivia, just a woman with a sprained ankle and nowhere to run. The question was, how long could she keep it that way? Outside, the wind howled louder, as if warning her that some storms couldn't be outrun, not even by a woman who had everything, yet somehow nothing at all. Chapter 3. Discoveries. Morning arrived with unexpected brightness. The storm had broken sometime before dawn, leaving behind a transformed landscape, glistening with raindrops and littered with broken branches. Sunlight streamed through the cabin windows, painting golden rectangles across the wooden floor. Olivia awoke disoriented, her body stiff from sleeping on the couch. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the dull throb in her ankle reminded her. The cabin was silent. Jack hadn't returned. She shifted to a sitting position, wincing as she accidentally jostled her injured ankle. The makeshift ice pack had long since melted, leaving a damp towel behind. She tossed it aside and carefully tested her weight. Still painful, but the swelling had reduced slightly. Using a decorative walking stick she'd spotted by the fireplace, Olivia hobbled to the kitchen. The digital clock on the microwave read 9:17 a.m. She filled the kettle and set it to boil, then rummaged through cabinets until she found tea bags. The normalcy of the moment struck her suddenly, standing in a stranger's kitchen, making tea, wearing borrowed clothes. No assistants bringing her carefully prepared breakfast. No emails demanding immediate attention. No board members questioning her latest decisions. When was the last time she'd made her own cup of tea? The sound of tires on gravel broke her reverie. She peered out the window to see Jack's truck pulling up, coated in mud up to the door handles. Relief washed over her, surprising in its intensity. The front door opened, and Jack entered, looking exhausted. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his shoulders slumped with fatigue. Behind him came a small figure, a little girl with auburn pigtails and a pale face. "Emma, this is Miss Olivia," Jack said gently. "She got hurt in the storm last night, and she'll be staying with us for a day or two." The little girl regarded Olivia with solemn blue eyes, so like her father's. "Did you get scared in the thunder?" she asked, her voice slightly raspy. Olivia smiled. "Terrified. Your dad rescued me." Emma nodded, unsurprised. "He's good at fixing things." She clutched a worn stuffed rabbit to her chest, swaying slightly on her feet. "Emma needs to rest," Jack explained, guiding his daughter toward her bedroom. "The doctor said it's just a bad cold, but she needs fluids and sleep." "I made tea," Olivia offered awkwardly. "I can bring her some?" Jack looked surprised but nodded. "That would be nice. Thank you." As he disappeared into Emma's room, Olivia prepared a mug of tea with honey, diluting it for the child. She paused, gripping the counter's edge, suddenly overwhelmed by the strangeness of it all. 3 days ago, she'd been in a boardroom in Manhattan making decisions worth millions. Now she was brewing tea for a sick child in a mountain cabin. When she entered Emma's room, Jack was tucking the little girl into bed. The space was small but filled with personality. Hand-painted stars on the ceiling, bookshelves overflowing with colorful titles, and a hand-crafted dollhouse in the corner. "I brought tea," Olivia said softly, setting the mug on the bedside table. Emma eyed her curiously. "Are you a princess?" The question caught Olivia off guard. "What? No, why would you think that?" "You look like one," Emma said matter-of-factly. "Like in my books." Jack chuckled, brushing hair from his daughter's forehead. "Rest now, kiddo. You can interrogate our guests later." When they returned to the living room, Jack collapsed onto the couch, rubbing his face with both hands. "Sorry about that. She's fascinated by fairy tales lately." "She's adorable," Olivia said, meaning it. "How is she feeling?" "Better. The fever broke around 4 a.m. He sighed deeply. "The doctor said it's just a virus, nothing antibiotics would help with. Just have to wait it out." Olivia nodded, lowering herself carefully into a chair. "And the roads? Are they passable now?" Jack's expression grew serious. "Barely. Mountain Pass is completely washed out, took a piece of hillside with it. You're lucky you weren't still in your car when it happened." The implications sank in. Had Jack not come for her, she might have been swept away in the landslide. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for saving my life." "Twice, apparently." He shrugged uncomfortably. "Anyone would have—" "Don't," she interrupted. "Don't say anyone would have done it. We both know that's not true." Their eyes met, something unspoken passing between them. Jack was the first to look away. "I should check the generator," he muttered, standing. "Power's still out in most of the county." Left alone, Olivia's gaze wandered to the laptop sitting on the small desk in the corner. Without thinking, she hobbled over and opened it. The screen flickered to life, connecting automatically to a satellite internet service. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard. One quick search, and she'd know what they were saying about her disappearance. 3 days of silence from the CEO of a tech empire would not have gone unnoticed. She typed her name. Headlines flooded the screen. "Reed Harrington missing. Foul play suspected. Tech titan disappears amid takeover rumors. Search continues for billionaire CEO. Reed Technologies stock plummets as founder vanishes. And most alarming, family offers $5 million reward for information." Her throat tightened. $5 million. For a moment, she imagined Jack discovering who she really was. what she was worth. The thought made her feel hollow. "Anything interesting?" She jumped, slamming the laptop closed. Jack stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Just checking the weather," she lied, heat rushing to her face. He nodded slowly, clearly not believing her but choosing not to press. "Well, the generator's working fine, but we're running low on fuel. I need to make a supply run into town." He hesitated. "Will you be okay watching Emma for an hour? She'll probably sleep the whole time." The request shocked her. "You'd trust me with your daughter? You barely know me." Jack studied her for a moment. "I'm a pretty good judge of character. Had to be in mountain rescue. Besides, you can barely walk, not like you'll kidnap her." He smiled slightly, but his eyes remained serious. "Will you do it?" Olivia swallowed hard. When was the last time someone had asked her for help, real help, not donations or endorsements or business advice? "Of course," she said softly. "I'll keep an eye on her." After Jack left, Olivia sat by Emma's bedside watching the child sleep. Her small chest rose and fell rhythmically, her face peaceful despite the illness. Occasionally, she'd mumble something in her dreams, her little fingers twitching. "Who are you really?" Olivia startled. Emma's eyes were open now, regarding her with that same solemn curiosity. "I told you. I'm Olivia." Emma shook her head. "But who are you really?" she persisted. "Daddy says everyone has a story." Olivia smiled sadly. "I suppose I'm someone who got lost and found herself in the wrong place at the right time." The little girl considered this. "Are you hiding?" The directness of the question pierced Olivia's carefully constructed walls. "Yes," she admitted quietly. "I suppose I am." "From bad guys?" "No," Olivia said after a moment. "From expectations. From being who everyone thinks I should be instead of who I want to be." Emma nodded, accepting this answer with the simple wisdom of children. "Daddy says that's why we live here. Because in the city, people wanted him to be someone he wasn't anymore." Olivia leaned forward. "What happened to him?" "To your mom?" Emma's face clouded. "Mommy died when I was born. Daddy was a building maker in Denver, but then he was sad all the time. He couldn't build anymore. So we came here and now he makes real things with his hands." She demonstrated, her small fingers locking together. "Things you can touch." "And is he happy now?" Emma considered this. "Sometimes. He smiles when he thinks I'm not looking, but he gets lonely." She fixed Olivia with a penetrating stare. "Are you lonely too?" Before Olivia could answer, the sound of a vehicle approaching interrupted them, but it wasn't Jack's truck. Through the window, Olivia spotted a black SUV with government plates crawling up the driveway. Emma sat up, alarmed. "Who's that?" Olivia's blood ran cold. "I don't know," she lied. But she had a sinking feeling she knew exactly who it was. Her security team had found her. Enjoying our stories? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. Now let's get back to our story. Chapter 4, Truths. Olivia's mind raced. How had they found her? Then she realized the laptop. Her search. Amateur mistake. "Emma, listen to me," she said urgently. "I need you to stay in bed, okay? Don't come out until I say it's safe." The little girl's eyes widened. "Are they bad people?" "No," Olivia assured her, though she wasn't entirely convinced herself. "Just people looking for me. I need to talk to them alone." Emma nodded solemnly and pulled her blanket up to her chin, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Olivia maneuvered herself to the front door, just as a sharp knock rattled the frame. Taking a deep breath, she opened it. Two men in suits stood on the porch, their expressions grim. Behind them, the driver remained in the SUV, engine running. Miss Reed Harrington," the taller one said, relief evident in his voice. "Thank God. Your family has been worried sick." Olivia straightened, feeling her CEO persona slide back into place like armor. "I left a note, Mitchell. I said I needed time alone." "A note saying, 'I need to clear my head' is not sufficient when you're worth billions and running a Fortune 500 company," Mitchell replied, his professional tone barely masking his irritation. "There's a manhunt for you across 3 states. Your father has offered a $5 million reward." "Of course he has," she muttered. "Always putting a price tag on things." The second man stepped forward. "Miss Reed Harrington, we need to get you back to New York immediately. The board is meeting tomorrow, and your absence has caused significant instability in company shares." Olivia glanced back at the cozy cabin interior, so different from her sleek Manhattan penthouse. "I'm not ready to go back," Mitchell sighed. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you don't have a choice. The Peterson merger is hanging by a thread. Your father has threatened to resume his position as CEO, and frankly, people are questioning your mental stability. The words stung more than she wanted to admit. "Give me an hour," she said finally. "I need to explain to—" The sound of Jack's truck interrupted her. She watched as he pulled up beside the government SUV, his posture instantly alert, eyes narrowing at the strangers on his porch. He approached cautiously, carrying grocery bags. "Everything okay here?" Mitchell turned, assessing Jack with a practiced eye. "Sir, this is a private matter. We're associates of Miss Reed Harrington." Jack's gaze shifted to Olivia, confusion evident. Reed Harrington? The name hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. Olivia saw the exact moment recognition dawned in his eyes. "You're that Olivia Reed," he said slowly. "The tech CEO." She nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you." Jack set the groceries down on the porch step. "So these men are my security team," she finished. "They've come to take me back to New York." Something flickered across Jack's face. Disappointment, perhaps. Or maybe just confirmation of something he'd suspected all along. "I see." Mitchell cleared his throat. "Miss Reed Harrington, we really should be going." "I need to get my things," Olivia said, turning to go inside. She paused, looking back at Jack. "And I need to say goodbye to Emma." The security men exchanged glances, but nodded reluctantly. Inside, Olivia gathered the borrowed clothes, folding them carefully. Her own outfit from the night before was still damp and muddy, but she changed into it anyway, wincing as the fabric clung uncomfortably to her skin. She limped to Emma's room where the little girl was sitting up in bed, eyes wide. "You're leaving," Emma stated, not a question. Olivia nodded, sitting gently on the edge of the bed. "I have to go back to my real life." "The one you were running from?" A sad smile touched Olivia's lips. "Yes, that one," Emma frowned. "But you don't want to. Sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. That's part of being a grown-up." The little girl considered this, then reached for something on her nightstand, a small, painted wooden star. "Daddy made this for me. He says stars help you find your way home." She pressed it into Olivia's hand. "Maybe it'll help you find where you're supposed to be." Tears pricked Olivia's eyes. "Thank you, Emma." When she emerged from the bedroom, Jack was waiting in the living room, arms crossed. "So," he said quietly, "billionaire CEO." "Jack, you could have told me," he interrupted. "I wouldn't have treated you any differently." "That's exactly why I didn't tell you," she replied. "For 3 days, no one has looked at me like I'm anything special. Do you know how rare that is?" He shook his head. "You lied to me. To Emma." "I never lied," she countered. "I just omitted." "Same thing." "Is it?" She stepped closer. "Would you have trusted me with your daughter if you'd known who I was? Or would you have seen the headlines and decided I was just another rich, entitled woman having a midlife crisis?" Jack's jaw tightened. "I judge people by their actions, not their bank accounts. Then judge me by mine. I was running away, yes, but I was running towards something too. Something real." She gestured at the cabin around them. What you've built here, it's more authentic than anything in my world." "It's just a life," he said quietly. "Nothing special." "That's where you're wrong." She took a breath. "Come with me." Jack blinked. "What? To New York? You and Emma? Just for a week?" The idea formed as she spoke. "I'll pay you, of course, as a consultant. I have a penthouse with plenty of room. Emma could see the city, the museums, the parks." "Why would you want us there?" Olivia hesitated. "Because I need someone who sees me as a person, not a position. And because—" She struggled to find the words. "Because I need to remember why I'm doing all this in the first place." Jack studied her face. "And what exactly are you doing?" "Trying to change the world," she said simply. "But I think I've forgotten what the world actually is." Before he could respond, Mitchell knocked on the open door. "Missy, Reed Harrington, we need to go. There's a storm system moving in, and we need to get the helicopter off the mountain before it hits." Olivia nodded, then turned back to Jack. "Think about it?" He didn't answer, just watched as Mitchell helped her limp toward the door. At the threshold, Olivia paused. "Thank you, Jack, for saving my life, and for seeing me, just me, not the CEO or the heiress or whatever else they're calling me in the press these days." She placed Emma's wooden star on the side table. "Keep this, in case I find my way back someday." Then she was gone, helped into the black SUV which crawled back down the muddy drive. Jack stood in the doorway long after the vehicle disappeared from view, his thoughts as turbulent as the clouds gathering on the horizon. "Daddy?" Emma had appeared beside him, still in her pajamas. "Is the princess gone?" He sighed, picking her up. "She's not a princess, Em. She's a businesswoman. A very important, very rich businesswoman. Emma rested her head on his shoulder. She didn't want to go. Jack said nothing, just stared at the empty driveway, wondering why it felt like something precious had slipped through his fingers. Inside the SUV, Olivia leaned her head against the window, watching the cabin recede into the distance. "Your father will be relieved," Mitchell said from beside her. Olivia nodded absently, her mind still in the warm kitchen, still with the little girl who saw through her, still with the man who had pulled her from the storm without knowing she could have bought the mountain they stood on. "The helicopter's waiting at Cedar Ridge Airport," Mitchell continued. "We'll have you back in Manhattan by dinner." "Actually," Olivia said suddenly, straightening, "I need you to make a stop first." Mitchell frowned. "Miss Reed Harrington, we really should. I'm still CEO, aren't I?" Her voice took on the steel edge that had made her famous in boardrooms. "Make the stop." The Cedar Ridge hardware store was small but well-stocked. Olivia, leaning on a hastily purchased walking cane, moved through the aisles with purpose, ignoring Mitchell's impatient glances at his watch. At the counter, she passed her credit card to the stunned clerk. "I'd like all of this delivered to Jack Morgan's cabin. Today?" The clerk's eyes widened at the total. "Yes, ma'am, right away." Back in the SUV, Mitchell broke the silence. Missy Reed Harrington, may I ask what exactly you're planning?" Olivia stared out the window at the mountains. "I'm remembering what matters, Mitchell. Now let's go face the storm in New York." Chapter 5. Crossroads. 3 weeks later, Manhattan hummed with its usual frenetic energy. From the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse office, Olivia watched tiny figures navigate the concrete canyon 60 floors below. The view had once exhilarated her. Now it just made her feel disconnected, like watching ants from space. "The board is satisfied with the quarterly projections," her assistant reported, sliding a tablet across the glass desk. "And the Peterson merger is back on track." Olivia nodded absently, her fingers tracing the small wooden star in her pocket. She'd kept it with her since returning to New York, a talisman from another life. "And your father called again. He wants to know if you're attending the gala tonight." "Tell him I'm still considering it," Olivia replied, though they both knew she would go. The Reed Family Foundation Gala was unavoidable, a parade of wealth and influence disguised as charity, where the real business happened between champagne toasts. Her assistant hesitated at the door. "Should I prepare the usual talking points for the press?" Olivia sighed. "No. If they ask where I was, tell them the truth. I needed perspective." She turned back to the window. "And Marissa? No more calls today." Alone again, she unlocked the bottom drawer of her desk and pulled out a folder. Printouts of emails sent to her private account, deliberately kept separate from her executive assistant's view. The first was from the Cedar Ridge building inspector, confirming that all renovations to the Morgan cabin had been approved and certified, including the new roof, reinforced foundations, updated plumbing, and expanded kitchen. The second was from her private investigator with a detailed background on Jack Morgan, former architectural engineer with Preston and Associates in Denver. Wife, Diane, died during childbirth due to an undiagnosed heart condition. Left his career 6 months after her death, liquidated assets, and moved to Cedar Ridge. Currently works as a freelance carpenter and handyman. No debts, modest savings, excellent credit despite reduced income. The third email contained Emma's school records. Bright, creative, well-adjusted despite her mother's absence. Teacher comments noted her vivid imagination and resilience. Olivia stared at the few photographs the investigator had included. Jack building a gazebo for the local park. Emma at a school play, dressed as a star. The two of them hiking a mountain trail, laughing at something beyond the camera's view. They hadn't accepted her invitation to New York. She'd left her private number with Jack, but he hadn't called. The intercom buzzed. "Miss Reed Harrington, your 3 o'clock is here." Olivia quickly returned the folder to the drawer. "Send them in." The meeting dragged on, executives arguing over marketing strategies for their newest product line. Olivia found her mind wandering to a small cabin in the mountains, to simple soup in mismatched bowls, to a little girl who'd asked if she was hiding. "Miss Reed Harrington, your thoughts on the proposal?" She blinked, focusing on the expectant faces around the table. "I think we're overcomplicating this. Our product should improve people's lives, not just their social media presence." Her senior vice president frowned. "But the engagement metrics clearly show—" "People aren't metrics," she interrupted, surprising herself with the vehemence in her voice. They're individuals with real needs. When did we stop designing for actual humans and start designing for algorithms? Silence fell across the conference room. These were conversations they'd had before, but something had changed in her delivery. A newfound conviction that made even her most seasoned executives take notice. Let's take a step back, she continued, rising from her chair. I want us to focus on one question. How does this technology make a single parent's life better? How does it help a child learn? How does it strengthen a community? She paused. If we can't answer those questions clearly, we need to reevaluate our entire approach. Later, as she dressed for the gala in her penthouse apartment, Olivia found herself staring at her reflection, a stranger in a designer gown, draped in diamonds worth more than Jack's entire cabin. Her phone chimed with a text from her father. Car will pick you up at 7. Be prepared to address acquisition rumors. She set the phone down without responding and walked to her office, where the evening light painted Manhattan in hues of gold and amber. On her desk sat a small cardboard box that had arrived that morning from Cedar Ridge. Inside was a handmade wooden music box with a note in childish handwriting. Dear Miss Olivia, thank you for fixing our roof. Daddy says it's the best roof in Colorado now. I hope you aren't hiding anymore. Love, Emma. Beneath it was a letter in Jack's precise architect's script. Olivia, Emma insisted we send this. She's been working on it since you left with some help from me. The tune is one she made up. She calls it The Princess Who Wasn't Hiding Anymore. I don't know how to thank you properly for what you did. The improvements to our home go far beyond generosity into something I can't quite name. I was angry at first, pride, I suppose. But Emma reminded me that sometimes gifts are just gifts, not obligations. I've been thinking about your invitation. The timing wasn't right then, but perhaps someday. Emma starts summer break next month. Maybe the mountains can visit the city after all. Take care of yourself, Olivia. Whatever storm you were running from, I hope you've found your shelter. Jack. Olivia turned the music box over in her hands, feeling the smooth wood, the careful joints, the love embedded in every detail. When she opened it, a simple melody played, childlike but haunting. Her phone rang. Her father. Where are you? He demanded without preamble. The gala starts in an hour. Olivia watched the sunset paint the skyscrapers golden. I'm not coming, Dad. What do you mean you're not coming? This is our biggest fundraising event of the year. The governor will be there, senators, every major tech CEO, and you'll charm them all beautifully without me. She smiled, a weight lifting from her shoulders. I'm taking some time off. Time off? You just disappeared for 3 days last month. The board is already concerned about your commitment. I'm still committed to the company, she said, running her fingers over the music box. But I've realized I've been missing something important. And what, pray tell, is that? Olivia thought of Jack's words. I used to design buildings. Now I build real things with my hands. She thought of Emma's simple question. Are you hiding? Perspective, she said finally. Real connections, a life outside these walls. Her father's sigh crackled through the phone. This is about that mountain man, isn't it? Your security team told me. Olivia stiffened. My personal life isn't company business. It is when you're the face of Reed Technologies. Look, Olivia, I know you're going through something. Maybe it's delayed grief for your mother. Maybe it's burnout. I don't know. But running off to play cabin in the woods with some rustic handyman and his kid isn't the answer. You don't know anything about them, she said quietly. I know he's nobody, a failed architect who couldn't handle his wife's death. Is that really the kind of man you want to associate with? Anger flared, hot and sudden. A failed architect? He lost the love of his life and chose to raise his daughter in a place that gave him peace. He builds beautiful things with his hands. He helps strangers in storms. He sees people, not opportunities. She paused, her voice steadying. And yes, Dad, that's exactly the kind of man I want to associate with. Silence stretched between them. You're making a mistake, her father finally said. Olivia looked at the music box, at the note from Emma, at the golden city spread before her. Maybe. But for once, it's my mistake to make. She ended the call and opened her laptop. Within minutes, she had booked a flight to Colorado for the following morning and drafted an email to her executive team outlining a 4-week sabbatical. By midnight, she had packed a single suitcase, mostly casual clothes, hiking boots, and one business outfit for emergencies. No assistants, no security team, no entourage. As the city lights twinkled below her penthouse, Olivia Reed Harrington slept soundly for the first time in years, the wooden music box playing softly on her nightstand. In Cedar Ridge, Jack Morgan sat on his porch, staring at the new roof that had appeared like magic after Olivia left. The craftsmanship was impeccable, the best materials, the finest details, far beyond what he could have afforded. Emma had been delighted, especially with the skylight in her bedroom that let her see the stars from her bed. "The princess sent us a piece of sky," she declared. But Jack's feelings were more complicated. The gift represented something he'd fought against since Diane's death. Accepting help, acknowledging that he couldn't do everything alone. His phone sat on the table beside him, Olivia's private number programmed but never dialed. What would he even say to her? "Thank you for the roof that probably cost more than I make in 2 years. Sorry I was too proud to accept your invitation." The night was clear, stars scattered across the dark canvas like diamonds, so different from the night they'd met, when rain and wind had nearly claimed her life. He wondered if she could see stars from her Manhattan penthouse, or if city lights obscured them. He wondered if she thought of them at all. Inside, Emma had fallen asleep clutching the photograph she'd found online. Olivia in a business suit at a tech conference, looking polished and powerful, and nothing like the woman who'd sat at their kitchen table in borrowed clothes. "She looks different," Emma had observed. "Her eyes aren't the same." Jack had to agree. The woman in the photograph was Olivia Reed Harrington, tech titan and billionaire. The woman who'd shared their soup, who'd watched over his sick child, who'd admitted she was running away. That was just Olivia. He wondered which one she was now. Chapter 6. Coming Home. Dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky in strokes of purple and gold. Jack sat at his workbench in the garage, putting the finishing touches on a rocking chair commissioned by the mayor's wife. His hands moved automatically, sanding the curves to a perfect smoothness while his mind wandered. The sound of tires on gravel pulled him from his thoughts. Probably Mrs. Callahan dropping by with muffins, as she often did on Saturday mornings. He wiped his hands on a rag and stepped outside, then froze. A modest rental car had parked in his driveway, and stepping out of it, dressed in jeans and a simple blue sweater, was Olivia. For a moment, neither spoke. She looked different, her hair loose around her shoulders, her face free of makeup, a nervous smile playing at her lips. "Hi," she said finally. "Hi," he echoed, still not quite believing she was standing there. "I got your package," she said, taking a step forward. "Emma's music box. It's beautiful." Jack nodded, finding his voice at last. "She worked on the melody for weeks, insisted it had to be perfect." "It is perfect." Olivia hesitated. "I hope it's okay that I came. I should have called first." Before he could answer, the front door burst open, and Emma flew out, still in her pajamas, wild-haired and wide-eyed. "You came back!" she cried, launching herself at Olivia with such force that Olivia staggered backward, laughing as she caught the little girl. "I did," Olivia confirmed, hugging Emma tightly. "I missed you. Did you bring the star I gave you? Did it help you find your way?" Olivia smiled, reaching into her pocket to produce the small wooden star. "I carry it everywhere." Emma beamed triumphantly, then turned to her father. "See, Daddy? I told you she'd come back!" Jack shook his head, bemused. "You did, kiddo. Why don't you go get dressed while I talk to Miss Olivia?" Once Emma had reluctantly gone inside, an awkward silence fell between them. "You look different," Jack said finally. "Good different or bad different?" He studied her. Without the designer clothes and perfect makeup, she looked younger, more vulnerable, but somehow more herself. "Just different. More like the woman who sat in my kitchen than the CEO I Googled after you left." She smiled wryly. "That's the idea. So," he gestured vaguely, "what brings the head of Reed Technologies back to our humble mountain?" Olivia took a deep breath. "I'm not the head of Reed Technologies. Not for the next month, anyway. I've taken a sabbatical." Jack's eyebrows rose. "A sabbatical? Why?" "Because I realized something when I went back to New York." She stepped closer. "I've spent 15 years building a company that connects people through technology, but I've completely lost my own connections. Real ones." She gestured toward the mountains around them. "I need this. The quiet. The perspective. And you came here? There are plenty of quiet places with better accommodations than Cedar Ridge." "But they don't have you," she said simply. "Or Emma." The directness of her statement caught him off guard. "Olivia! I'm not asking for anything," she interrupted quickly. "I've rented a cabin by the lake. I just thought maybe we could be friends. Maybe Emma would let me take her fishing or hiking sometimes. Maybe you could teach me how to build something with my hands instead of just signing checks and acquisition papers." Jack studied her, searching for any hint of the entitled CEO, any sign that this was just a rich woman's idea of playing mountain vacation. But all he saw was sincerity and something else, something that mirrored his own loneliness. "Friends," he repeated, testing the word. She nodded, suddenly looking uncertain. "Unless that's too complicated." Jack thought of the night he'd found her in the storm, of the way she'd listened to Emma's stories, of how she'd looked in the candlelight when the power went out. He thought of the emptiness in his life since Diane died, not just the absence of romantic love, but of connection, of being truly seen. "Emma would love that," he said finally. Then more softly, "I would too." Relief washed over her face. "Really?" "Really." He gestured toward the house. "Have you had breakfast?" "Emma makes terrible pancakes, but she's very proud of them." Olivia laughed, the sound carrying across the mountain clearing. "I'd love terrible pancakes." As they walked toward the cabin, her cabin now too, in a way, given how much of it she'd rebuilt, Jack noticed how naturally she fit into the landscape, as if the mountains had been waiting for her return. "Jack," she said, pausing at the porch steps. Thank you for giving me shelter that night, for seeing me as just Olivia." He smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in weeks. "Thank you for coming back." Inside, Emma was already gathering pancake ingredients, chattering excitedly about all the things they could do together: fishing at the lake, hiking to the waterfall, building a treehouse in the old oak. Olivia rolled up her sleeves and joined her at the counter, the billionaire CEO and the little mountain girl measuring flour together, laughing when it spilled. Jack leaned against the doorframe, watching them. The storm that had brought Olivia to them had long passed, but its effects remained. A new roof, a healed heart, a found family. Outside, the mountains stood silent witness to the beginning of something unexpected, but somehow inevitable, like rain after drought, like sunrise after the longest night. Two worlds had collided in a storm, and in the clearing that followed, 3 lost souls had found their way home. Wow, what a story. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming content.